Hi, I am Kanika Makhija, a researcher and educator working primarily in the domain of popular culture and design. And my co-author, Ritwika Misra, is a heritage professional who has worked extensively in the archives, in museums, and organizations. To introduce ourselves, I'll have a little bit of audio playing from Ritvika so that she can also be a little present and she'll introduce the topic and give a little bit of context as to why we are here and what we're doing.
Archives and museums have a commitment not only to collect and preserve material. Archives and museums have a commitment not only to collect and preserve materials from the past, but also make them publicly accessible. The advent of digital and audiovisual mediums and artificial intelligence has added to the democratization of audiences and have furthered the reach of the museums and conventional museum goer into a vast pool of virtual audiences who were earlier uninitiated and unexposed to such viewing. In India, too, museums are rapidly expanding their audience through various forms of outreach, focusing to create a non-hierarchical perspective towards museum objects. Various strategies of outreach and their impact, however, largely depends on the resources, both human and financial. There have been numerous attempts by museums, both public and private in India, to energize their collections and enable multiple connections and create entry points towards creation of plurality of perspectives. Something currently which is very important and topical for the country as well as for the world. These ongoing efforts, however big and small, were furthered during the challenging period of a global pandemic, when museums and similar public institutions intensely tried to discover the world of virtual engagement.
Okay. Yeah, so we worked, the Museum of Art and Photography in India in Bangalore is based in Bangalore. My co-author again will give you a little bit of an introduction of the museum as well as the academy that they're running.
It was in this context when a museum was opening up in Bangalore, India, called the Museum of Art and Photography. And it was amidst pandemic when they were yet to open their physical premises. They started actively thinking about the importance of digital efforts as museums and how they can bolster audiences, reach out to a larger group of and different demographics. As a part of such efforts, the Museum of Art and Photography MAP launched an educational platform called the MAP Academy to share history of South Asian art. Their mission bloomed in 2020 with an online exhibit, making it one of India's first digital museums. That enthusiastic response made MAP wanting to find new ways to help art lovers, institutions, enthusiasts to engage deeper. Today, the platform that we'll be showcasing to you and will use as a case study emerged from one of such initiatives where the museums collaborated with Microsoft to bring to the world something that has been pioneering, at least in the South Asian context. Sitting at homes today, we are accustomed to seeing and accessing museum collections, be as scholars or even as someone who's interested to browse through to know more about. As researchers, we often understand how material histories of objects are deeply layered, intertwined, but it's not always that we get a chance to kind of interact and develop those relationships, understand that interconnectedness. This was one of such platforms that emerged, and it was furthered by the aid of artificial intelligence. So I will now hand it over to Kanika to introduce the Interwoven platform to all of you. Thank you.
Okay. Uh, Given the context of the museum, I'll be referring it as MAP from here on. MAP's platform Interwoven. If you can play the video, that would be helpful. The platform did something absolutely unique and very pioneering in its way. What it did was it tried to bring together computer vision and enabling AI to generate connections across collections. And in a way that, of course, you can see it's in a very visual manner. Um, MAP itself had over 2,000 collections of textiles, of South Asian textiles, which they digitized meticulously for this project, and of course for their online archives as well. And this was an initiative set up by AI for Cultural Heritage. Was an initiative by Microsoft, which they partnered with to build this platform. Their technical expertise allowed them to bring together the AI tools to recognize visual and textual data. Even though the platform largely focuses on South Asian textiles, it brings together collections from across the museums across the world, such as Cleveland Museum of Art, the Met, Rhode Island of School of Design, um, Wrightburg Museum, Royal Ontario Museum in Canada, and many, many more. If you go through their website, in the Learn More, in the partner section, you'll see that they've collaborated with a whole range of museums to bring the collections. Largely, we've only seen South Asian textiles in a very I mean, usually we see them in the Indian context, but what this particular platform aimed to do was to make connections with these of these textiles to the collections across the globe. So just find if there might be any sort of interconnectedness in terms of trade, in terms of sacredness, in the rituals, in the practices that we could possibly map across the globe. The platform aimed, I mean, the target audience for the platform was anyone from a student, no voice, a beginner, to an expert. So they sort of, the way they designed it was to aid to both these kind of categories, like, and everyone in between. So a larger research question was to understand the underlying model of the AI in this particular platform and to see how really it generates connections and if it is enhancing user engagements or is it fostering immersive storytelling experiences in a digital environment. The methodology we opted was a multi-pronged approach of inquiry, where we did an extensive interview with the MAP team and with the MAP team to understand the platform better, to understand the way they planned this project. Of course, we did literature review to understand the existing knowledge in this area. And our most elaborate exercise was to do the usability test to really get unbiased understanding of how the platform is being received from the users. Uh, so to oh, okay, sorry, oh my bad. Oh, sorry. Uh, yeah, research question. Yeah. So I'll go on to the Interwoven platform. The way they had designed the platform was sort of a the platform was like a back and forth between feedback from the Microsoft team as well as then again back from the MAP team. What the feedback that they received was again nothing out of the ordinary. That of course these AI models they use Azure custom vision and AI text analytics to build this model. They created 73 models based on the discerning patterns with 35 to 70 images per model. What they soon realized is that given the nature of the textiles and given the intricate details embedded in them and the iconography attached to them, they were not really able to identify, like the machine or the computer vision was not really able to identify specific weaves such as patola or kantha or jamdani and even certain animals that are actually depicted, even though they're depicted in across the textiles, but they're depicted in different fashion, in different way, let's say in block printing versus in weaving, in versus in embroidery, even though the animal is the same, but the imagery looks different. So it was becoming difficult for the AI to recognize these images. So they resorted to something more simpler elements, such as diamonds, circles, or flags. Um, um, in the so, and they soon realized, given the fact that collection was becoming a little bit abstract, they introduced curated journeys to enhance and to give a sort of direction to the user as to when they land to the platform, where to begin and how to navigate themselves and what can they actually do with the collections. So the curated journeys essentially allows the user to understand the global connections between the textiles with the collections that they integrated from across the museums. Um, the Microsoft was responsible for the UI UX design of the platform, but there were a lot of feedback that that MAP and both Microsoft kind of went back and forth to understand, to make it a very immersive view and make it more user friendly. So, given the unique nature of this platform, we had a little bit of a trouble with literature review in the way that we couldn't really find exact examples that used AI models to generate this sort of visualization of collections and the interconnectedness. So we sort of segregated our our inquiry into two specific domains. That is to really understand how AI tools can be best integrated with cultural heritage data, and what is the visualization of cultural heritage objects in the digital environment? What can we do to gain more experiences? And what can we do that the user are enjoying this experience? So in the for the challenges in the AI, we noted that, as you can see, like this is not something new that has been encountered. We already know from extensive literature that has been written around this topic that there's a lack of well annotated data sets. Of course, and given even if we do make data sets, the metadata, the way we define and define these different asset classes, the metadata varies highly, and and of course, even if we are able to, in a way, figure out annotation models that could work for the AI tools, we still have to go a further step to hierarchically organize them. And it needs to be domain specific because each domain, be it textiles versus coins versus I don't know, architecture, all of these have different ontologies attached to them, which carries the contextual meaning. And we found that with different projects and different applications in the literature review that they work the best when we limit the AI training models to domain-specific work. But in the examples that we saw in the literature, we've also found that the applications of such models were limited to building better search bars or making or tagging large data sets through machine learning. In the next bit for the user experience is sort of a there are two sides of it. One, of course, is the technical side, and the other is the behavioral side. Of course, in the technical side, there are certain tasks attached to the platform to fulfill these certain objectives, and all these together aid the experience of the user as to how they behave on the platform. We did usability test to understand their behaviors more accurately. We wanted to understand what exactly were the friction points and what really was the places where users were getting confused and detached from the platform and were not willing to explore further. in our methodology, we selected 7 participants, and we divided them into 2 categories of informed and uninformed. Um, the informed audience essentially meant that they at least, they varied from someone who knew the textiles and artifacts, and also to someone who who knew of it but couldn't really accurately identify them. And the uninformed audience was basically who did not really know uh, anything about the textiles as such, or was sort of they're familiar with the world of textiles, but they don't really know what really comes under which category, and even with the larger collection as well. So we defined the 5 tasks for the usability tests. Of course, one was to, and we segregated them into 2 larger sections. One was to arrive at our conclusions, we MAP had conducted workshops with curators and students to see whether the platform was sort of receiving the kind of feedback that they wanted to, or people were enjoying that platform. So in their own processes of understanding the technicalities of how AI systems work, and how it is different, like how when you create a metadata for a model for a machine learning versus how you create a metadata for archives, they differ largely, because AI treats all objects as equal, whereas that's not the case with our cultural heritage objects. And there's certain sort of flattening of uh, context that happens, like the deeper embedded histories become a little bit absent, and the platform reinforces certain erasures that we've been fighting to undo in a way. And in and for the AI model, we received feedback from our users that even though in some places the AI was, they couldn't identify where the AI was in the platform, and in other places the AI was not giving them enough context as to how there is an interrelation between the objects. And a lot of which is why the whole curated journey comes into play, because that's sort of a human element added to bring some context to the AI model. But at the same time, the moment there is a custom journey feature where a user can make their own custom journey and find their own objects in there, and make connections across the entire collection. But even in that process, even though you go through the entire custom journey, at the end you select 20 objects. There is sort of the end goal. There was no clarity in the end as to what was the outcome of the custom journey. You do 20 objects and then that's it. A user could not really get beyond the part. Yes, you could share it with the map. You could share your custom journey back with the map to really understand. They could use it and see how the connections are being built, but the user itself doesn't really have these connections for them to see. So what we really realized that from the user experience is that even though the platform does something amazing at this, but at the same time, it is not really giving them this more authority or giving them the autonomy to bring these collections home. The purpose of the platform feels a little bit flat, but at the same, and the user feels unguided. And the major disconnect actually happens when you land, when you kind of come to the landing page and you read the description. You understand that you're supposed to generate more, the platform will give you more storytelling experiences in a more human-centric manner, but because it's in the nature of the AI that kind of abstracts, they kind of make these connections arbitrary and makes a little abstract, that the user is not able to get to that stage. This is sort of like the way we sort of did this research was to really, and these are not, again, new outcomes that we arrived at. We arrived at these outcomes even though, even when MAP had sort of an idea of why this was happening. But this research has, for us, has been in a way to figure out ways through which we could perhaps find answers to these problems that the users were facing. So, for example, at the end, when a user reaches the custom journey phase, there could be, again, a nodal network that could enable them to sort of see the connections happening in the live mode. And it's sort of a way to motivate, I think, the user. But this is sort of a problem I think we've also encountered in our other research, I mean, in the literature review as well, that the way to, it's a challenge to make the user familiar with the platform. They they're used to certain kind of digital environments in their social media, etc. But when you come to a museum website or even an exhibition space, you expect a certain kind of experience that usually that is not exactly equal to what a digital space is offering. So because when there's a sort of lack of familiarity with the platform, the user seeks towards exploratory behaviors. But what MAP really does do well is that kind of giving them options to change the way they're looking at the collections by nodal network views, by a carousel view, or by just like a grid view. And it also, I mean, this is just one of the projects. I would say it's a bit experimental in its stage, in its nature. But there are many other things that, of course, MAP is also doing with their academy and their online collections, where the user can make their own collections online. The fact that, of course, it's not really enabled with AI. But this is sort of like a wish list for us in a way. This project has been like to see what really can we do with the platform. How can such a platform like Interwoven can facilitate long-term learning, and what is the nature of this learning can be if one wants to integrate AI into our collections and allow the users to make their own journeys and build stories out of it. Thanks.
Thanks, Kanika. Maybe if there's time for one short question, if there is in the room or online, anything?
Hello, I'm Pascalia, and I'm really interested actually in the whole documentation about traditional textiles and all that. I wanted to ask you, what process do you use technically, let's say, to get the best image of a fabric, the best detail, if you have a specific process, for your project and all that?
Okay, so that actually was done by MAP, the museum, their team. We are right now just independent researchers for this, but I can help you get that answer if you need. Yeah. There's another.
Okay. Oops. No, now it's loud.